Good evening, and thank you for joining us at the Central Bucks County Chamber of Commerce. Our program tonight is Recycle Today and Save Tomorrow. We're going to be having a discussion on the best practices for single-use plastics and food waste. Our program tonight has been put together by the Architectural and Environmental Committee. This is our Earth Day event. Those of you who know that Earth Day is on the 22nd would know that this is truly an Earth Day Eve event is what we're looking at tonight. But I want to thank everyone for coming out. I especially want to thank our volunteers tonight for putting this together. I want to thank our panelists, who we'll get to in a second. And I also want to thank our main sponsor tonight, which is Phillips and Donovan Architects. We are speaking to you from the Doylestown Township building, and this building was actually designed by Phillips and Donovan. So it's a spectacular place. You got to come out and check it out if you haven't been here yet. But I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. Looking forward to a very interesting conversation on a topic that I genuinely don't know a whole lot about. That's why I'm excited that we have experts here tonight. So let me introduce our experts, and then they'll go along and tell you a little bit more about themselves and why they're passionate about it. Our first panelist is Dr. James Baldessari. He's the chairperson for the Doylestown Environmental Advisory Council. And in the middle there is Kathy Snyder. She is the executive director for Rolling Harvest Food Rescue. And to our left is Deanna Miller. Deanna is the Bucks County Planning Commission Planner and Recycling Coordinator. I thank you all, panelists, for coming out this evening. I'm very excited to hear from you. What I wanted to do is just ask each of you, in 2 or 3 minutes, tell us a little bit about why you're passionate about your work and how it relates to our topic tonight. So I determined earlier that we're going to let Kathy get started. Kathy's with Rolling Harvest. Kathy, take it away.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me to be part of this Earth Day, pre-Earth Day event. And this is something I'm very passionate about, because Rolling Harvest Food Rescue is all about making sure that perfectly good, edible, appealing, healthy food doesn't go to waste. And as the evening progresses, I hope I get to share a lot of interesting statistics with you, but mostly just give you a sense of how much can be done to make sure that wasted food right here in Bucks County is rescued and redistributed to people who are hungry. We started with one farm and one food pantry. And as organic as it could get, we now partner with 43 farms and more than 80 hunger relief sites to rescue, in about June, we'll pass 4 million pounds that would otherwise just have gone to waste. It would have gone to landfill. It would have been left in the ground because farmers had harvested what they needed. So yeah, I'm passionate about this, and there's a lot that can be done. Huge, huge advances in our entire sector of food recovery. So looking forward to telling you more. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Deanna?
Hi, I'm Deanna. I'm with the Bucks County Planning Commission, and about 8 years ago, I started working with a county in New Jersey doing solid waste management stuff, and I was an intern in college, and we had our first paper shredding event, and I was like, okay, I've heard about recycling, and the event, I didn't really think that there was a need for it, and hundreds of people showed up to this event, and continuously hundreds of people would show up to our paper shred events. They would come to the recycling centers. So I started really seeing firsthand just how much there is a need to get rid of waste and doing it properly, and understanding that people do want to do the right thing, but sometimes don't know how to do it. So I feel really fortunate that for the past 8 years or so, I've been able to work with different counties in both New Jersey and Pennsylvania to kind of help people, direct them in the right ways and give them the right outlets to get rid of materials that they're looking to get rid of. Just because I do know that it is a much bigger problem than some people even realize.
I think I read that, of course, the internet's a wonderful thing. You can almost look like you know what you're talking about. I read that 9% of single-use plastics get recycled or thereabouts. So, Jim, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Yeah, hi, I'm Jim Baldessari, and I'm the chairperson of the Doylestown Township Environmental Advisory Council. And we are a group of 7 residents who advise the township on environmental issues. And we've been very, very active for many years now, working on many things you would expect, like working with the Audubon Society on bird walks, working with the National Arbor Day Foundation to plant trees. We've done all that. But more recently, we've turned our attention even to issues of policy, particularly around renewable energy, and as we're going to talk about tonight, the problem of single-use plastic. Single-use plastic is a problem that people don't seem to recognize. We've gotten so used to that plastic coffee cup, that straw at McDonald's, the plastic bag that comes from the supermarket. It's just a part of the rhythm of life, but it's not sustainable. As you just mentioned, Scott, only a tiny fraction of single-use plastic ever gets recycled, and it just ends up accumulating hundreds and thousands of tons of plastic in our landfills, or it gets incinerated, or it ends up in our parks, ends up in our rivers and streams, our lakes, and on our beaches. And it's a problem that is just simply not sustainable, and people need to understand the magnitude of the problem, and we need to start to change behavior.
Thank you. I can speak from personal experience, having been a part of a couple of adopt-a-highways through scouting, that it is fascinating to see what people throw out of their cars or what blows out of trash trucks, and how many of them have very common convenience stores that we all go to on a regular basis, and they're attached to them. So it's kind of interesting to see what's out there. But we, each and every one of us, can do just a little bit better to help our environment. I think I failed to introduce myself. My name's Scott Little. I'm a commercial loan officer with Harleysville Bank, which does not make me anything like an expert here tonight. So, but I'm a pleasure. It's a pleasure is mine to be able to ask some questions of our team tonight. Tonight, I want to get started with Kathy, and I really want to ask you is, like, how did the organization get started, and how does one go about asking a farmer, hey, can we pick over the gleanings in your field so we can give them to people who don't have any food? I'm interested to hear the answer to that.
How much time do I have?
I got all night, actually, Kathy, so.
You guys bring your pajamas? Your popcorn? Rolling Harvest got started when I was volunteering at a food pantry right in this very prosperous area. In fact, New Hope, Lambertville area. And I was lucky enough. I took a lot for granted back then, 12 years ago, when this just got started, and I knew so little. I was able to leave my shift at the food pantry and go to the New Hope Farmers Market. That was literally a half mile away from the food pantry, and I was lucky enough. I had a car, I had some disposable income, two things I assumed everyone had, but I've learned a lot now that contradicts that. So I could go home and serve my family this incredible local farm market, fresh food, and I'd go back to the food pantry the next day, and we'd be giving away this crap. Excuse me if anyone here works for Dinty Moore, but we'd be giving away ramen noodles and Dinty Moore beef stew, and we would give bruised bananas that had come from sitting on a supermarket shelf for 10 days, and I just started to realize, what the hell is going on? This is the richest country in the world. This is a wedding destination location for people from around the country. How can this be? So I really took a deep dive into that sort of aha moment. And I did start asking farmers at the farm market, do you have anything to spare? That was not the way to do it. I was pissing off some people, seriously. You know, they'd say, like, whoa, I understand what you're trying to do, but you're making me feel bad. I got to keep this food for another 2 days for, you know, the market at Wrightstown or whatever it might be. So one very vocal woman who was clearly annoyed, she said, Kathy, you don't get it. If you could bring your van to my farm at 11 o'clock Wednesday morning, I could fill it up with beautiful food. I can't quite sell it, but it's certainly it certainly would be a shame to just compost it. So that became our model, and we're almost 50 farms now.
That's amazing. That's a great story that came out of the farmer's market idea. And I could see where the vendors would get just a wee bit upset if you asked them to give away their merchandise, okay? So that's good. I'm assuming we'll hear later that you took them up on meeting them on that Wednesday morning, filling a van and giving it out.
That's exactly the model we adopted, and we have never backtracked from it.
That's great.
And we're 4 million pounds
What year
now.
did the organization start?
About 2010.
Okay. So we're going to just shift gears a little bit. Saving food waste isn't too terribly dissimilar from keeping single-use plastics out of the environment. It's all about sustainability. And Deanna, tell us a little bit about your work at the county. Specifically, what is single stream recycling, and how the county is handling that right now?
Yeah, so single stream recycling, I think I want to say relatively new in the world of recycling, but it's where you can throw all of your recyclables into one bin. So you can put your paper, your plastics, cardboard, and aluminum all into one bin. And then it goes to a materials recovery facility, a MRF, where they separate it out. And I've visited those facilities, and I every time go in thinking there's no way that this is going to work. There's no way that they're going to take all of this material and accurately separate it out, and they do every time. But they separate it out into each material, and then that's how it's recycled. So it's been really great for recyclers in the sense that it has made recycling so easy that you can throw all of your recyclables into one bin. You no longer need to separate your plastic from your paper or your aluminum, but there have definitely been issues that have come along with it, because with single stream recycling, you can throw everything in one bin. That often results in people throwing everything in the recycling bin, so things that shouldn't be recycled end up going in there. It ends up contaminating the recycling stream, and then it just creates problems when it comes down to the sorting facilities. It adds more time, more labor intensiveness, and just more money too. So it's definitely played a factor in prices of recycling. It has also just kind of added some confusion for residents and just for clients who want to recycle what exactly they can and cannot recycle.
So I know our audience is just dying to ask, what is the single biggest contaminator that recyclers struggle with?
I would say plastic bags from like shopping centers, definitely, because one of the things, so as I said, these facilities, they separate out the materials. So plastic bags actually are very similar to paper in terms of weight and just kind of as a machine going through. So a lot of times the plastic bags end up in the paper bales, which is just not good because they're trying to send out the paper to like a paper mill that's trying to pulp it down, and plastic doesn't do that. Also, they are a big problem. They're called what they call a tangler. So essentially these plastic bags get tangled and stuck in the machines at the facilities. So some of these facilities have to stop for like 30 minutes twice a shift to cut out the plastic bags from the machinery, because then it's making the machines less efficient in sorting the materials itself. So in both ways, in the one way it ends up in the paper, which is a problem, and then in the other way it definitely slows down the facility's ability to do work.
Thank you. And I found out myself that our local thrift shop will happily take your single-use, your plastic bags, because they use them for merchandise. Now, what somebody does with them after that, but at least it's getting used twice at that point. So,
Right, exactly.
well, thank you very much. Jim, tell us a little bit about what the township is doing regarding single-use plastic, and what are some of the plans going forward?
Well, I think that this is a problem whose time has come. And I mean, if you look around, for example, the world, if you look around the country, you see places like California has reduced their use of single-use bags by 85%. Vermont, New York, Philadelphia now has a plastic bag ban, which has just gone into effect. And New Jersey is going to have one of the most stringent plastic bans coming up, I think, starting May 1st. Pennsylvania hasn't really caught up as well, and that's why I think Doylestown Township has really looked at this issue. The township has passed a resolution requesting that businesses voluntarily reduce their use of single-use plastic. And the EAC will be looking to meet with businesses to talk about how we might do that. In particular, restaurants, and particularly around the issue of plastic bags. But even beyond that, you can see that a number of the townships in southeast Pennsylvania are actually moving forward with bans on bags. Salisbury Township, Doylestown Borough are considering bans. Some bans have actually been enacted in Chester County. And these are, they're intended to be very easy for businesses and merchants to adopt. They're very streamlined. They focus only on plastic bags. Nobody's talking about banning cups or straws or forks and spoons at this point. But banning plastic bags, having merchants substitute paper bags, which they will then sell to the consumer for a small fee, 15 or 20 cents, which the merchant will keep So it's not a tax. It's something that the merchant will keep, put in their revenue stream. But the idea, of course, is not to sell paper bags. The idea is to change behavior. So the intention is that over time, people will learn to bring their own bags. And that's really where we want to get to, is changing consumer behavior to get rid of all this single-use material that Deanna's been talking about.
Thank you, Jim. Quick question. I think this is a goofy segue, but Kathy, how do you hand people the food? Is it in a single-use bag? Or?
That's a really great question, because just today we were at None Such Farm. Everybody here know None Such Farm?
Mm-hmm.
You may not know how much they donate in terms of their surplus, but they also today gave us 120 of the best crates that, big farmer crates. And the whole reason is, I have been a pain in the ass to my team, and I'm adamant, and I said, I do not want to see one more blue plastic recycle bag being used for our gleaning out in the fields. We've got to find a better way. So gleaning in the fields, which is what we're able to do when the farmers invite us and they've left food behind. And we glean it, we get it into what used to be blue plastic bags, but now with the 120 crates from None Such, that's what we'll be putting our freshly harvested food into and handing it directly to the food pantries there, because I know they're going to bring them back. I just have faith in them. So.
Well, when I saw that on your website, the gleaning word stuck out, and I knew there was something biblical I had read in the Bible. And actually, Leviticus 19 says, "When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not wholly reap the corners of your field, nor gather the gleanings of the harvest." It was a way that people could give back to the poor in their community, that they would physically come and pick up the gleanings in the field. And now you're actually doing that for people. So tell us a little bit about how people in our audience could maybe get involved.
Well, we are a modern-day gleaning organization, and as you well know, our society has evolved where most people don't live near farms. We're so disconnected from where food is grown and any kind of agriculture. So any of you can get involved with Rolling Harvest Food Rescue. You can go to rollingharvest.org, and there's lots of information for the kind of things I wanted to share tonight about why we do the work we do, the sustainability, the environmental stewardship of making sure food doesn't get left behind when 1 out of 5 kids in this country, 1 out of 6 kids in this country is going hungry. Even here in Bucks County, guys, 60,000 people are food insecure. So maybe a reason to get involved, maybe a reason to have your employees spend some time with us in team building out in the fields. Lots of reasons post-COVID. We're also isolated and we're so limited in being able to be with our...
It's outdoors, folks. You don't need a mask if you're outdoors.
You're getting your hands in beautiful organic soil. But the reason we do what we do, if I may I just elaborate a little bit?
The floor is yours,
Okay.
yes.
So the reason we do what we do is it's not just, in my idea, the stupidest thing we could do to let really good agricultural product go to waste. It's really stupid to let it go to waste when there are 60,000 families who are food insecure, and let's call it nutrition insecure. It's not just getting food, it's getting really good nutrient-dense, healthy food. And before Rolling Harvest, farmers really didn't have a relationship with so many food pantries. It's just the logistics are complicated and we love it. We love logistics. So if a farmer had something to share, he wouldn't necessarily have the contacts to know where to send it. And he's already struggling with a skeletal crew, trying just to make ends meet. Food pantries mostly have volunteers who are very elderly and may not be able to go and pick up 50-pound sacks of donated potatoes. So we really developed the infrastructure to be the middle person to create this reliable, accountable, dependable system of food rescue and food redistribution to people who need it. If that appeals to you, there's another matter for what we do, and it has to do with the topic tonight, the sustainability and the environmental issue. Maybe a lot of you have heard over the years that we waste 40% of all the food that's grown in this country. You guys been aware of this? Phil, yeah, thanks. So 40% of all the food that is wasted either never makes it off of the farm or never makes it out of the food processor, or never makes it from the retail outlets to the homes And then the final 20% of all the food wasted is in our own homes. I have to admit, my kids are grown, but I still keep my fridge filled. I think they're going to come over any minute. I got to learn to change my own behavior. But when you realize how much food is wasted, and then you think of the environmental mandate that we have somehow in the next generation to feed 9 billion people on this planet, we can't create more land. We can't create more water. We simply don't have the resources to make that happen in a sustainable way. So when you do what you can to rescue food locally, you're keeping it out of landfill, you're feeding people, but you're also being a part of changing a whole behavior and dynamic that simply is not sustainable for us in this richest country in the world. And the final thing is, think about when you eat that hamburger, think about when you eat that black bean burger. If that were to go to waste, that hamburger were to go to waste, it takes 1,500 gallons of water to produce one hamburger. And I may be off by a zero. I got to check my notes. But the environmental impact of growing your food that we just waste in total hubris in this country, the environmental impact of wasting that food is the land that was set aside for it, the water that kept it healthy, the nutrients that nurtured it, the labor that picked it, and the fuel that transported it. So we have unsustainable expectations of how it's okay to waste food, and I hope I've let you see how there's a lot of connections and things that we can be more aware of and just try to do better.
Thank you. And I agree. There's so much that we as individuals can do that it starts with education. And so I want to shift over to Deanna and ask you, so what's the county doing to educate people to just be more responsible in how they're recycling their materials and obviously not throwing plastic bags in with the recycling, but be more smart about it?
The county is in an interesting spot because how recycling works in Pennsylvania is essentially there is one law that designates the municipalities the responsibility to recycle. Even in Bucks County, not all of the municipalities are mandated to recycle. So on the county level, we do try to send out as many messages as possible to get everyone on the same page, but there are obstacles with it just because not every municipality has the same rules and regulations. And with that, it kind of is hard to send a clear message when you might work in one town and live in another, and you have two different rules of what can be recycled, if you even have to recycle. I had somebody call once who had paper that they wanted to recycle, and that wasn't one of the materials that's needed to be recycled in their town, so there just wasn't an easy outlet for it. Also, for kind of the law for recycling in Pennsylvania is that each municipality that has to recycle, all they need to do is choose 3 materials that they're going to recycle. So it really is kind of a loose law that people have to try to follow. So it does make the education aspect a little bit difficult, but there are things across the board like don't put plastic bags in your recycling bin, try to separate them or reuse them. That is across the board going to be something that works for everybody. Also recycling, when it comes to plastics, there's plastics numbered 1 through 7. I don't know if you guys have noticed, there's little numbers on the bottom of all your plastic goods. Plastics number 1 and 2 are just the most stable markets. So across the board, if you're going to be recycling plastic, it is going to be 1 and 2. And another message that we really get across is just having people acknowledge that there are so many different rules. So the best thing that you can do is talk to your municipality or talk directly to your trash hauler or your recycling hauler and see what is it that they're going to collect. Because again, like I said, at work you might be able to accept plastics 1 through 7, but at home you're just taking 1 and 2. So I kind of like the saying when in doubt, throw it out type thing, because if what you're throwing out, if you're trying to recycle something that can't be recycled, there's so much more energy and time and money that goes into throwing it out. So kind of having that standard plastics 1 and 2s, aluminum cans, and paper, cardboard, Usually that's good, but even that is not always going to be 100%. So we do try to have a simple, clear message to try to get out to everybody, but we do definitely need to work with the municipalities to see what they're accepting and stuff like that.
That's great. You think you could come to my house and educate the people who live in my house on what to do? Because I'm the guy who hauls it all out to the curb, and you know how many times I take things out that I've told them, don't put it in the recycling bin.
Yeah,
And it's right there, right on top. And
house calls isn't in my job description yet, but
it's not there yet? All right.
Not
well,
yet, but I'll see if
call
I can
me
get
when
it
you
out.
get there, all
The
right?
doctor is in.
Yeah.
Jim, tell us a little bit what we're doing at the township level, like individuals in the Doylestown Township. So I would imagine you're aware of what the recycling plan is here in the township. What do you see that people constantly are doing that should not be getting done?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I want to react to Deanna, what you said about the complications of recycling plastic. And we are trying to educate our residents in Doylestown Township about recycling. And the real problem, I think, is that plastic just does not have a lot of value for recycling. And that's just a fundamental problem. And it's, in some ways, a bit of a fiction that we're actually recycling our plastic, because as Deanna mentioned earlier, or Scott, maybe you mentioned, less than 10% of our plastic actually gets recycled. So we've been kind of sold this line, we all want to be good residents, good neighbors and citizens, and we try to recycle our plastics. But that system is fundamentally broken. And what I'd like to say is that we really simply need to get away from plastic in general. And we can. So it's not your fault. It's not our fault as residents. This is the way the system has been set up by the people who, plastic is obviously very handy for many, many reasons, but it just is not a sustainable material. And I think what we need to do more and more is to go away from plastic and go towards things like aluminum and glass. That seems like an easy switch to me. I get my Diet Coke in cans, not in plastic bottles. I get my Yuengling beer in bottles, not in plastic. And I think this is the kind of thing that people can get their heads around, is don't buy plastic, buy glass, buy aluminum. That is an easy fix that I think most people can do, and will just start to drive down the use of single-use plastics. That's just one example of things that I think that we need to be doing, both as businesses and as consumers. And this is a message we're trying to get out to our residents here in the township. It is one of the core issues that we're dealing with in the township is the issue of recycling. And it is a perennial problem of educating people, not to put greasy boxes, pizza boxes, that's a problem, the plastic bags, the children's toys, which are not recyclable plastic. And really, and the idea of when in doubt, throw it out, I think is very important, because people think they're helping by putting more in the recycling, they're actually making it worse. So we, at the township level, we can do education for our community, and that's what we've been trying to do.
What avenues have you used, Jim? Anything that's been successful that stands out?
It is tough. We have educational material on our township website. We do frequently refer to the county's website as well, which I think is extremely helpful. We have table events in the park where we engage residents directly. That's been a big part of it. And events like this.
So you're also not coming to my house then to educate my family?
Sorry, Scott.
Okay, well, guy can hope, right? So now we're talking about the individual. Deanna gave us the thought process on how we can start to reduce, and Jim was talking about it. Kathy, tell us what the individual can do to reduce their food waste within their own home. You mentioned that you never know when your kids are coming home. You keep the stock. It does make me sick on trash day when I'm looking, I'm like, why are we throwing that out? Well, it's been here for 10 days and you didn't eat it yet. So tell us a little bit about that, how you educate, how your organization educates people.
Sure. So I am a hypocrite in the food that I waste, or maybe just because I'm painfully aware of it. I guess I'll have to go easier on myself. I'm just painfully aware when I do waste food. Let's call it that. So the kind of behavioral nudges that can help you reduce your own personal waste I want to start with a bigger thing that you can do when you're out in the community. And it has to do with helping to create these behavioral nudges that mean less food in your community is going to waste. But you as an individual, when you're out and about and you're at that farmer's market or you're at Giant or Weiss's Market or any store where you buy, you know, if there's that lonely little bunch of kale, and it's got a tiny bit of yellow on it, but it's still perfectly fine if you're going to cook it that night. You could do a lot of good in this world and in your immediate neighborhood if you bought that kale. If you bought the carrot that had 3 legs and was just like funky and not feeling the love, you'd be surprised what that one simple thing can mean. It means that the farmers can sell everything they grow, and nothing is going to go to waste because they're going to sell more because you're embracing the beautifully, wonderfully imperfect vegetable. So when you're in the supermarket, the other thing you can do is help, I know it's asking a lot, but help create a shift in mindset that says at 4 o'clock in the morning, your supermarket shelf has to be beautifully stocked with glistening, perfectly, fully stocked, fresh food. I mean, this is what we've created in our society. We have an expectation of perfection that is found nowhere in Mother Nature's playbook. And it creates so much waste on the shelves with you not buying that perfectly beautiful, delicious carrot with 3 legs. What the heck? It's going to taste amazing in your soup and salad anyway. These are what you can do at home when you're out in your community. You can also, in your community, ask your supermarket, why aren't you selling your 3-day-old vegetables for half price? Lots of supermarkets are doing that now. Why don't you have a seconds rack? Because I would love to support that. And there's 3 things, there's actually 2 main things you can do at home, and then I'll wrap it up. When you are looking in your refrigerator, please do not be confused by the obvious, confusing by nature food expiration date labels in your refrigerator. We don't know what the hell the difference is, best by date, used by, used before. There's no standards. There are no standards for food date labeling in terms of expiration dates. And that might be shocking to a lot of people. And there's certainly no standards in Pennsylvania, except for you have to adhere to expiration dates when it comes to dairy and shellfish. That's it. Every expiration date you see and best by date is the manufacturer's best guess for how long that product's going to be at its peak maximum freshness. How many of you thought a best by date or an expiration date had to do with food safety? Come on.
I thought there's no science behind that, is what
There's
you're
no
telling me?
science behind it. And even the expiration date on your milk is way off. It has no scientific basis. So please, let your nose be your guide. There's no reason to toss food. Scientifically, you're going to see if something looks or smells bad. If a can is bulging, of course, you're going to toss it. But when it comes to fresh food, these are things you can do immediately that will make a big difference.
Yeah.
That's great. So buy ugly vegetables.
Yes.
Don't throw stuff out just because the label says, ooh, you're a day out of date. I'm sorry, Deanna, you wanted to say
Oh,
something?
yeah, I was just going to add something about like individual choices when going to the grocery store. I think that we're in a neat time right now where people's voices, especially because of social media, are being heard a little bit more, and corporations and companies are responding better. So, I mean, this is different than the food stuff, but I've noticed a lot more companies coming out with like steel and reusable packaging that you can mail back. There's different like loop systems, deodorants that are coming in cardboard or paper rather than plastic, or actually I know Dove has a steel container and you just buy new cartridges for it. So I think that there's a lot of, I mean, though I don't necessarily agree that it needs to all be on the individual, but there is a lot that the individual can do when going to the grocery store, whether it's food or personal care products, that there's a lot of choices you can make to show that you're going to be doing something for the environment. And I think that the more people do that, the more it can be mass produced, and then prices can kind of go down, and it becomes, you know, adding the demand kind of can help add the supply and help with that.
I think it's funny. I'm looking at my notes here, and literally today I got an email. I use Harry's shave products and body wash products. I got an email today that they have a pump now, and they'll just send you a pouch that replaces it instead of it. And that, what was really funny, it makes me wonder if they're spying on me, because today I literally put the one I just finished in the recycling bin today. So I'm going,
Yeah,
Is
they
that
were
social
seeing-
mean spying on me? Are they
Yeah,
seeing
they
me when I
were,
throw things
yeah.
in? They are? Is that what you're
Yep.
telling me? Oh, that's okay. I'm boring. There's really not that much to check out. Jim, tell us a little bit more about what some of the plans going forward are in Doylestown Township to tackle this, educate people, and reduce single-use plastics.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, the township has passed a resolution calling on the township to voluntarily reduce its use of single-use plastic. And so, it's up to the EAC to turn that resolution into some action. And so Heidi Shiver, my colleague here in the audience, and I are looking to engage with businesses around the township. And when I say engage, I mean physically go to visit businesses, restaurants, and other places that are maybe using plastics, and engage them in a conversation to find out what businesses can do today and to reduce their use of single-use plastics, how that may affect their business, what are the downsides, what are the upsides, and how can we work with them and help them to enable these things. So, for example, could we help them identify perhaps suppliers of biodegradable containers, for example? Would it help to have some kind of a recognition program where your storefront could say, yes, I am a sustainable provider under such and such a plan? So we really want to engage the business community to find out what we can do, because we don't want to simply impose something on them which is onerous or difficult, but really we want to learn from the business community and then try to spread those best practices around our township, and of course share those best practices around the county as best we can.
So how would members of the Central Bucks Chamber of Commerce be able to get involved to chime in on what they're seeing?
Yeah, no, we would love to hear from any of you, and you can call the township and they will put you in touch with myself or with Heidi, or I'm happy to speak with some of you here this evening, set up a time to meet and discuss these issues, because really I think the wisdom is with the business community, not with the three of us sitting here at the panel necessarily. So they can contact me directly or through the township, and happy to do that.
Great, thank you.
But Scott, can I ask Kathy a question?
Yeah, please do.
Hi, Jim.
Kathy, so
Jim.
my daughter was buying ugly vegetables through a service that would deliver them to her door.
Hungry Harvest or Misfits Markets?
It was one of those. It was something ugly or ugly fruits or something like that.
Tell her thank you.
And my concern, though, was the amount of packaging and shipping that was involved in these. They come in large boxes, and they have these plastic cooler bags full of some kind of stuff. What's your take on all of this? Is that a good way to go for consumers?
I think that there's a trade-off with everything, and you're right, that is imperfect model. In fact, in Bucks County, we've got Bodie Market Box up in Ottsville, and they do a home delivery of organic, and they do source from a lot of local. Before COVID hit, what I loved about it is all of the packaging, the ice packs, even the boxes went back to them for reuse. It was a zero waste initiative. So I want you to know about them, Bodie. I'll connect you.
Thank you.
But with COVID, you couldn't do that. Everybody was scared that everything was being done on surfaces. So I think there is a way with these delivery services to have it be zero waste. It's going to add to logistics, but I saw for 2 years Bodie Market be able to do it.
It's a great option to have.
Yeah, I want to actually say one more thing while I have your attention. Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
please do.
So
Please do.
I forgot to tell you, when you guys are out there being ambassadors for environmental stewardship and reducing food waste and reducing plastic use, when you're at your market, remember I said just, ask the manager, why aren't you selling old, half price for old vegetables or dairy that's going to near expiration or whatever? There's another thing you can ask them. Ask them, do it this way. What food pantry do you donate to? Just ask that. And really, hopefully, they've got some great answers. Yeah, we partner with Doylestown Food Pantry, and one of their volunteers comes, every week. But I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of shames them into thinking about it a little bit, because what a lot of businesses really don't know, right here in Doylestown, right here in Bucks County, right here in United States, there's something called The Good Samaritan Food Donation Protection Act of 1996, signed into law by Bill Clinton. There is no liability to donate food. There is huge sweeping safety nets and then strengthened by each state to make it even easier for people and businesses to donate food safely. For you to be prosecuted, you have to prove malicious intent to harm or gross negligence. So, like, say, for example, I'm picking up from McCaffrey's, and I decide to leave their frozen turkey breasts in the sun for 3 days before I take it to our next distribution in Ben Salem. Well, it just doesn't happen. There's not been one law, there's not been one case brought up to challenge this. Nobody gets sued for donating food because of these sweeping protections, but people still don't believe it.
Thank you.
They don't trust it.
I'm taking away two major things. One is buy ugly vegetables and shame my grocer. Okay, so those are the two that I'm taking away. Good stuff. So you mentioned the end result of all of this is getting food into the hands of people who need it. So where can people who are food insecure pick up donations that our Rolling Harvest has gleaned?
So we partner with a number of hunger relief organizations, and I think you guys as Bucks County residents, I think you should be really proud of the collaboration and the advances that are being made here. It really does fly under the radar, unfortunately. Anybody who ever wants me to come and talk more about it at length, it's my favorite thing to do. We partner very much with Bucks County Opportunity Council. That is the de facto food pantry, food delivery network. So we have a lot of joint distributions and different models. We now have a county cooler that we were talking about this before, that the Bucks County commissioners gave us, this massive freezer next to a massive cooler for donated food. You guys don't know what a game changer this is. The county was storing furniture in there for 4 years. So nobody asked him, but I have a big mouth and I'm not afraid to talk. So game-changing food distribution benefiting the county. Food pantries can come directly to the cooler. We do 2 multi-pantry distributions in Bucks County. One is down in Ben Salem, one's at New Britain. We got 35 organizations that can come. These are the food pantries themselves who come in their trucks, take as much food as they need for their individual services, no questions asked, and go right off and distribute it. We also have 3 models that go directly to underserved residents. This is a direct free mobile farm market called Fresh Connect in Bristol, Ottsville, and Warminster. With the help of St. Mary Medical, we were able to identify the 3 most at-risk zip codes in Bucks County, and that's where we were able to set up. Each week with these 3 models, it's hard to believe. We started at about 500 families a week. When COVID got to its worst, we were up to 1,700 families a week, and now it's down to, it's sort of petered out, not petered out, but leveled off at what I hope is about 700 families a week. But just think of that. And these are the people who aren't getting food in all the other ways that we're helping in all the different models.
Yeah, there's a lot more that we can do. All right, before I open things up to questions from our folks here, I want to, Deanna, is there anything that we haven't covered in regards to recycling, the county program, that you'd like to leave our viewers with?
I'll just add in that the county does run a household hazardous waste collection program, so it's a little bit, a separate entity than just recycling at the curbside, but we do have 5 events each year where we collect hazardous waste that you may have at home, so old gasoline, oil, fluorescent light bulbs, things like that. So we do have those events to hopefully keep that stuff out, because if we don't collect it, it either ends up just in the trash or even worse, just being like illegally dumped. So that's kind of our way to try to collect as much as possible. We had our first event this year, April 2nd in Newtown, and we had 1,055 people come to that, and then we have 4 more events this year. So our next one is May 7th up in Percy, and then we have one in June in Warrington, August in Ben Salem, and October in Quakertown.
Right, does that include e-waste, like computers and cords? No, okay,
No,
it's a separate thing altogether.
Yeah,
right?
so that's a separate program. Right now, we're working to see the best way to do it. Some towns do have e-waste collection programs set up for their residents, but not all of the municipalities do. There are a few places in the county that you can bring electronics to that there's a fee based off of either it's per item or maybe per pound, so it really depends. But we are looking to try to enhance the electronics collections available. There used to be a facility in Langhorne, but they actually just closed like in the end of February. So it's kind of a new issue that we're trying to tackle a little bit better, because we always did have that facility where residents could go for free.
Great. I think that if you looked in our one drawer in our house, I've got enough cords that if you line them end to end, they'd go around my house 2 or 3 times. So, and we have no idea what most of those are for. So,
Yeah.
Kathy, you have a drawer like that as
May
well?
I ask a question?
Sure.
So a farm we work with, Living Hope Farm in Harleysville, did an electronics recycling event 2 weeks ago that became a fundraiser for them. And apparently they had almost 500 people show up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So maybe have you seen this kind of almost like an event culture and create some buzz around it?
Yeah, so there is this one company I know that some municipalities have used, because I'm assuming, did they have residents pay to attend the event? Or, yeah, so I mean, I personally would love to see that model continue, because then it's also helping other people or organizations. But I know that we do have, a town did an event with a company that kind of in itself is a nonprofit that they use, I believe, they have people who have come out of prison who need jobs that they generate the funds to help pay them. So there are different kind of community efforts to get these programs. And I definitely would, like, if they do another event, I would definitely love to know about it, just because it is hard when some of these other organizations are doing it. Our office isn't always aware to kind of help.
course.
So definitely, if they have it again, I would definitely want to know
Sure,
about
I'll
that.
send you the flyer.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Jim, you want to wrap us up on what's coming up with the township of Doylestown, and as far as recycling, single-use plastics, and what initiatives you got coming up?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned earlier, Heidi and I will be engaging businesses on how we should approach this. So that's in the near term. As I mentioned also earlier, there is a sort of a groundswell now to actually put ordinances in place to start to actually ban some of these plastic bags. And I can't say that Doylestown Township is at that point yet, but you can see that as the various dominoes start to fall and we start to see other townships.
We said that earlier. We said New Jersey is doing
Oh,
this.
yeah, New Jersey, Philadelphia, places in Chester County, maybe Salisbury. So as that continues to happen, it doesn't make sense that, some townships would be, let's say, banning bags, and then you go right across the township line to Wawa, and now that one is not banning bags. So I think you're going to see that there's going to be a kind of a groundswell of activity to try to standardize this approach across the county. So we're not there yet, but I think that is on the horizon. What I would say, Scott, is in the short term, I would ask all of us here to sort of try to model best behavior. We are probably as informed as anybody about this. So, get some reusable shopping bags, put those in the back of your car, keep those with you. You can decline the plastic fork and knife. You can decline the straw sometimes. Those are the kind of behaviors that we need to change, and I think it's going to have to start with us, because it's got to start somewhere, and let's lead on this issue.
All right, great. Thank you. What I want to do is I want to open it up to our audience. Is there any questions? Say, Mary Jo, you've got to stand up and yell as loud as you can. Oh, well, we have a mic. I'm sorry, Mary Jo. It was more fun to watch you yell, though, but, we'll give you a microphone.
Know me, know that I do fine with yelling. Especially my children will tell you that. Kathy, I have a question for you about, so I visit markets, orchards. How can we encourage them to be in touch with you? Could we just say, hey, you ought to contact Rolling Harvest, those apples are a little bit,
Thank you.
not exactly primary, but certainly could be reused. Do we just have them suggest they contact
Sure.
Rolling Harvest?
Yeah,
Okay.
email, phone call, text message.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now, we do work with about 45 farms now.
I mean, I suspect that one of the orchards that I work with, that I frequent, probably is already working with you. But
Do you want to tell me which one it is?
Manoff's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I can see that's something that Amy Manoff would
No,
do.
thank you for that. It's, there are new farms coming up all the time, which is great. We're also losing farms at an alarming rate
Yeah,
in Bucks
that's
County.
another
So, first of all, the fact that you go to markets and support local agriculture is one of the best things you can do for our environment, since this is Earth Day, pre-pre, and sustainability. So I think that's one of the best things you can do. I'm always happy to talk to anyone who has a decent amount of surplus that they're frustrated just sending it to compost when it could feed people, and it looks really good.
Okay. Oh, and Scott, I don't know whether this is a good place or not, but we've discovered 611 Metals. It's in Pipersville, I guess. It's on 611. And they take computers. What also is great, because I too have boxes of cords. They will take the cords because they strip them, they strip the copper out of the wiring. The only thing that I think we've ever had to pay for was a television set. They charge you for those, and I'm not exactly sure why, but they find value in, like, I've brought printers and computers, and but what they do is there are a lot of precious metals in those devices, so they like to get them and they strip them out. They also take all kinds of metal, and again, I don't know whether what they do with it, but
That would
it's
have been
called-
our fourth panel presenter. Look
there
at
we
that,
go.
Phil.
Yeah.
611 Metals, the number
Yeah.
611
We have,
Metals, and I think it's Pipersville. Is it? Yeah,
yeah,
it's on 611 going toward Pipersville.
Great.
yeah, if
Do
you,
we,
Pardon?
I was just gonna say, if you go to our website, buckscounty.gov/recycling, we have an A to Z recycling guide that basically, based off of just A to Z, whatever material you're looking to get rid of, 611 Metals is actually listed as one of them. And they do, TVs just tend to have a fee because they're a little bit more intensive to take apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they are one of the ones that I usually send people to because they do have a second location in Bucks County as well.
Oh, do they?
great,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question? Dennis? You got to have the microphone, Dennis. I mean, we can't let.
Staples has a program where they accept pretty much anything that you want to bring back in the way of computers and stuff. I was just wondering if 611 Metals was where that wound up, because I can't imagine what Staples would be doing with something like that.
Huh.
Great. I had another question. Think about, I'm old enough to remember little, when I was a kid and other little kiddies collecting bottles and things and taking them back and getting some money for it. Possibly trying to get people involved in the age of QR codes. Think about a thing where a store might have a program where you sign up for it, you get a card, and if you bring something back to a state, you just swipe the card and get a little, build up some credit when you're, checkout. Or, just the kind of thing that seems like it should be doable in this day and age.
Yeah, I can say that there are a number of states, it's not Pennsylvania, but New York and Vermont, for example, where I go a lot, they still have a 5-cent deposit on cans and bottles. And there's a barcode on every can, every bottle. You put it in the machine, it gets scanned, and you put in 10 bottles, it gives you a receipt for 50 cents, and you go inside and you redeem your coupon. So bottle bills work. Bottle bills work, but we don't have one in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Instead, you got to be on the Adopt a Highway program out there, picking those bottles up on the side of the road. Do we have any other questions from our folks here? Phil?
Thoughts here to throw out to you and mention, but the problem I see for this panel, I was trying to get someone on from a national organization, and they are sort of liaison between recycling and the manufacturers of products, and try to get a communication together, because she was busy tonight, so she couldn't get on, so I'll at least convey what she was going to say, is that the manufacturers are jumping ahead with all these great ideas for marketing purposes. For example, you may have a glass bottle, but they may coat it with some kind of plastic over it so that the scanners or the people looking at it think it's plastic, because even though there's glass in it. So these mixtures of things make it very challenging that I think it may have to come from the top down, but maybe we can just write an email to somebody that we say, hey, I didn't buy your product because I noticed it's not recyclable, or it's got a mix of things here. But it seems like we really need to simplify things, and their organization doesn't sound like it's going to happen very easily. So it almost seems like it has to be a national thing to say, hey, if you're going to make something, it's got to be simple and easily recyclable. You can't sit there and peel stuff apart and pull labels off and do that. And a story I think to throw out to Kathy is a different thought here is that Gerald's General Store, I don't know if you remember Gerald down in Lumberville there, but I used to go down there every Sunday or Saturday and buy a coffee from him, and I would bring my own mug. And the first time I went in, and I run into this problem in a lot of the fast food places when I come in with my own mug, and he said, that looks like it's more than 12 ounces, because it's a big mug, it's got insulation around it and things, so it looks like you're getting a large instead of a regular or something. So one time we poured the 12-ounce coffee in, and I showed Gerald, see, it's 12 ounces. And one day I went down there, and he was filling up his little coffee machine thing with all the cups over on the side, and they were styrofoam cups. And it was a pack of 50 in there, you know, a whole bag of these all white ones stuffed together. And I came in with my mug, and I said, you know, Gerald, I come in once a week, you know, and I use my own mug. That's a pack there of 50. That's equivalent to me in just 1 year coming here. One person is taking that whole packet right there. And when you start to get them to realize that's just once a week, let alone people that come every day, say it can really save them some money too, but so if there were things such as on the cup a little sticker or something that said, hey, this is a standard 12 ounce, so that you could go into these places and do. So I'm just throwing that out there that we've got to simplify because it's too complicated for most people. I called the waste hauler recently because they used to take, I don't know how they did it, but are those milk cartons that are wax coated on, and then they have plastic in them and things. And they would take them, and somehow they said they'd recycle them. And I went on their webpage, and I didn't see it this time, and I called them up, and they said, oh, no, we don't take those anymore. Even though the manufacturer puts a recycling symbol on it with a thing next to it that said, you know, here's this webpage. And I went to the webpage, and it was merely a thing that says rinse and clean it out and things, but it didn't mean it was recyclable. It was just identifying it's a waxed carton. But people get misled when they see that recycling symbol on there. They think, oh, I could throw it into the bin now. So I think one thing that maybe the county could do, or townships, is say to the waste haulers, recycling guys, could you make up little brochures and like refrigerator magnets to put on the fridge so that people could say, these are what you take. So because each one, it sounds like, is different, to get it simpler and more standardized. Because my next door neighbor is an apartment complex. I mentioned to somebody here, 4 apartments. I looked out, none of them recycle. They throw everything into their bins. It's like, but if it were simple for them, maybe they'll do it. But it's just, we think differently than a lot of others. You know, I
Right.
take my food waste and give it to our chickens and
That's
turn
great.
it back into eggs, you know. Well, to ask people to go buy some chickens to raise in their backyard is asking a lot. But, you know, if they can give it to their neighbor or things like that,
I throw mine over my back deck because I just would love to see a black bear come and visit. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm open.
Boy, your neighbors must love you, Kathy.
It's
So
so popular.
but thank you for all you're doing. I
Yeah.
just wanted to say my sense is that the simpler, the better. And
Agreed.
unfortunately, the manufacturers are making it too complicated right now.
absolutely. In preparation for today, I did use that amazing Know-All, Mr. Google, and the first thing that popped up, they must have paid the most money for it, was Greenpeace actually has a big thing right now they're pushing, and they've identified that Target has a lot of things on their shelves that say that they're recyclable, that they're not. I don't think Target is alone. I think every single retail out there is selling things that say they're recyclable. And to Phil's point, that we just need to do a better job of being aware ourselves, and then also not being embarrassed to ask management of wherever we're at and say, hey, have you ever thought about where this all goes? And just to wrap things up, when our committee talked about it, we came up with the recycle today, save tomorrow, because it was a really pithy saying and it fit on the headline. But what we really wanted to say was something like, you bought it, now you're stuck with getting rid of it. But there's no fancy way to say that. So really, you don't produce waste if you don't buy the waste initially. So tonight I want to thank our speakers today. Deanna, thank you. Kathy, thank you. And Jim, thank you very much. I want to thank our audience today. I want to thank those of you, the thousands of fans we have on Facebook Live tonight. I want to thank them. Thank the Chamber of Commerce. I especially want to thank all of our volunteers with the Architectural and Environmental Committee and our major sponsor tonight, Phillips and Donovan Architects. If you want to see an example of their work, come here to the Township Building. It is beautiful. I'll bet Joe would be happy to give you a guided tour to tell us about that. And then I also want to thank the Bagel Barrel, the single best bagels in Doylestown, and they came in sustainable paper bags, and we have those here. Pat donated them to our attendees. So stuff your pockets with bagel bites on the way out of here. They're good. They don't last long. Don't put them in plastic. They get moldy, okay? Just letting you know that. So just for the good of the cause, we're part of the Architectural and Environmental Committee. We're working on our architectural tour. Brad, you knew I was going to throw a commercial in for this. Our tour will be in New Hope the last Sunday of September. So check us out. You'll be able to find us at the Central Bucks Chambers website. With that, I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. Thank our speakers. Thank our attendees, our sponsors. Have a great night. Thank you.